We're back. You're watching the CBS Evening News. If you're just joining us, we're in a live conversation with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, just back from Joint Base Andrews, where he met some of the soldiers and sailors involved in that mission in Venezuela. Mr. Secretary, thank you for staying with us. I want to go back to the, to the rationale tonight. Is it about freedom or is it about oil? At the press conference today, President Trump seemed to indicate that both were a factor.
Freedom, security, prosperity. Of course, there are what was done by Venezuela against American oil interests, oil companies, is well understood and never should have happened. And President Trump is willing to recapture that. But it's also the security of our hemisphere. If people understood what Venezuela was trafficking in with other adversaries, weapons they were trafficking, and then, of course, the drugs and the cartels, the poisoning of the American people, the violence, Tren de Aragua that have been brought to our shores, all three of those combined together in this bold and courageous action from President Trump. He takes nothing off the table. So what happens next will be in the hands of Venezuelans to decide. But ultimately, America will benefit security-wise and with prosperity, and we believe the Venezuelan people can as well.
You know, Mr. Secretary, today at the press conference, you said, and I'm going to say it slowly so I get it right, Maduro effed around and found out. And that's obviously a message not only to Maduro, but to many American adversaries around the world. And it comes on the heels of President Trump saying that U.S. intervention in Iran would be possible if Iran kills protesters. It comes as Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Cuba should possibly be worried tonight. What's next here? What's the message? Who did you have in mind when you said F around and find out globally?
Well, I referred also to the Iranians and their nuclear capabilities. The president said they will never get a nuclear bomb. The Iranians didn't believe it. He acted. He said the same thing about Maduro. He acted. He said the same thing with the Houthis. He acted. Southern border acted. We're going to do something about drugs. He's acting. We're acting with striking drug boats. This is a president of action. And you don't get peace in this dangerous world without strength. So there's been a lot of politicians that want to talk. They want to talk peace. They want to talk diplomacy. They want to talk negotiations. They want to talk globalism, international organizations. President Trump speaks through action. And so our allies understand that, and they're stepping up, spending more. Our adversaries understand that. So all around the world should take notice. American leadership is back. When he says something matters, it does. And we will take the necessary action with the full weight of the Department of War.
You know, Mr. Secretary, in the aftermath of this successful mission, there were tears of joy in Caracas, in Miami. Venezuelan refugees obviously thrilled to see Maduro out of power, his capture. You can understand why. They've got all that oil, and yet the country itself has skyrocketing prices. His own people have been starving. And yet a meaningful number of Americans would wake up to this news and they'd be ripped back 20 years to another American president, another U.S. intervention. I'm thinking of the war in Iraq. And that led to a significant loss of U.S. treasure and of U.S. blood. Many of the president's own supporters tonight are wondering, how is this time around going to be different? And how is it in the U.S. interest?
It's the exact opposite. I mean, we spent decades and decades and purchased in blood and got nothing economically in return. And President Trump flips the script. He says through strategic action, we can ensure that we have access to additional wealth and resources, enabling a country to unleash that without having to spend American blood. I mean, this was a bold and audacious move, but it was thought through. It was well orchestrated. Our military had time to set it up. He provided the resources, and then he took that bold stroke. And through it, we flipped that very dynamic. And Americans will benefit. Venezuela has a long history of being a rich and prosperous country. It's been stolen away from its people by horrific leadership. We can do both, help them and help the United States in the Western Hemisphere by reestablishing the Monroe Doctrine. Peace through strength with our allies was demonstrated last night. And I think I know the hemisphere will benefit from President Trump's bold action.
All right, Mr. Secretary, we're going to ask you to hold there for one more commercial break. We're going to fit it in now to our viewers. You're watching the CBS Evening News. We'll be back in just a moment with one final question for Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Stay with us.